everyone! Welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan Contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the 5th density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
Welcome to number 75, and it's nice to have you here. Thank you so much for your support and just everything that goes with it, your friendship, your well wishes, those that I do get, and even the criticisms. Thank you for that. It just firmly resolves me to know that I'm on the right track, because apparently I piss off a few of you. But hey, you know, we all can have differences of opinions and still be friends. At least I believe that. Anyway, we have a lot to cover. There's current stat, and we have a really interesting mix of data to share with you on that. I don't know why my eyes are watering. And then we're going to talk about the soul. And I'm going to preface that when we get to that. Current stat. I want to say that obviously there's a lot going on in the world. Here in the United States, if you didn't have a sense of humor and you couldn't find a sense of humor or grow a sense of humor, you'd probably be losing your mind at this point. It's just insanity, the narratives and everything else that's going on. But there are some things that I want to share with you, information that is not being shared in the mainstream media, and in the complicity of that, you will figure out if you're actually really paying attention. Remember, whoever controls the narrative controls what people think and how they think. And it's always important to remember that those who have had control of the planet for thousands of years, they want your attention because they want to control your emotion, because they feed off of your emotions. And they particularly feed off of fear. This is where they've had a lot of control and have had absolute control over not only countries, societies, but civilizations. Just keep them in fear and they'll do what you want. And they'll say and they'll do what we say, regardless of how ridiculous it is, because they're in fear. So always keep that in mind. Okay, now the deep state isn't gone yet. They're doing everything they can. They're making their last stands to do everything they can to control the narrative, control the people, because once they lose power, they're done, and they know they're done. They no longer have cover by their alien gods. They're losing their middle management people who are turning on them because they realize what's really now been going on, and they have turned over evidence, whether it's regarding blackmail or any type of information along those lines where they can control others. They have shared that with the proper authorities. So there is an awful lot going on. And what we are seeing are the last gasps of a very, very corrupt, dark cabal, deep state group of human beings, non-human beings, who have just done some horrific things, okay? And they have taken humanity in a direction we were never intended to go, all for the purposes of them remaining in power. So I share this with you because this is important. This is really important. Now, if you're aware of today's ongoings, the United States is officially in a state of emergency. It's technically a martial law plan, to the extent of which we don't exactly know yet. But our president felt it was necessary to do this because he wants to build a wall. So I'm going to go over just some things here real quick. You may or may not at all be interested in this, but there is a reason that I'm sharing this. And I will cover that when we button up, all right? The bill that was put in front of the president gives mayors of cities along the border the opportunity to veto the building of the wall along their border, okay, along their townships, their city borders. What's most interesting about this, and this was something that the Democrats insisted on, what's really, really important is that the areas that have the veto vote are where the human trafficking is and most of the drugs are coming across. Now, there have been speculations for months that the head of the Democratic Party is being influenced by the cartels of Mexico. Now, it's interesting that here we have the wall wanting to be built, and the areas that have to be remained free and open are those areas where most of the drugs are coming across. I've mentioned this so that you can pay attention, because the Department of Defense knows this, the Border Patrol knows this, Homeland Security knows this, the President obviously knows this, and there could be some very interesting revelations here in the next few months. I would say within the next month, there are going to be some very, very interesting revelations about who is really who, what they've been doing, because the United States has a cancer, and it's corrupt politicians. And somebody has to clean house, and it's going to be messy. I guarantee you it's going to be messy. But nonetheless, it's coming. Now, this is not only happening here in the States, this is also happening or beginning to happen in other countries. So when you hear the narrative, the sky is falling, we're going to be invaded, the devil's coming back, the Antichrist is here. Look, this whole movement is happening because we have benevolent assistance that is giving us the opportunity to turn humanity around, to turn around our civilizations on this planet, and to right our course so that we can become a responsible citizen of the galaxy. So you have to understand that's the goal here. And if you not listen to the mainstream narrative, which is just horrible, and you see the actual actions of what's occurring, how these things are turning around and the bad guys are being exposed, and more and more people are awakening to the plight of humanity and the technologies that have been withheld that not only heal but prevent horrible diseases. I mean, there's so much to be positive about, but you're never going to know that if you're listening to the media, the mainstream media. So I have to again remind you of that. There is more positive happening than negative, but all you hear is you don't even hear the actual real truth of the negative that's occurring. What they're doing is they're projecting. They're projecting all of this negativity on those that are actually doing the beneficial work of humanity and trying to turn things around. For those of you in England, there is chatter here in the United States, at least through military channels, Homeland Security, etc., that if this Brexit thing implodes and it doesn't go very well, that the royal family will be brought to the United States, which I find fascinating. I want to remind you that about 15 years ago, could be longer, they built a compound on 10,000 acres here in Estes Park, Colorado. And you can only get into it, there is a road, but you'll never get down the road, okay? But the only other way to get in there is to fly in. But they have this compound, and the chatter is that it's being prepared in the event that the royal family has to flee England. They would be coming here to Colorado. Just FYI on that. I thought that was interesting. NASA, good old NASA, never a straight answer. They published some information regarding Uranus and Neptune, how their latest and greatest theories on those two particular planets is that they have a very, very small rocky core and that most of it is liquid. And ladies and gentlemen, nothing could be further from the truth. Okay, the reality is, the larger the planet's hollowness, the stronger its gravitational field. It's just a fact, whether NASA talks about it or not. In the rest of the universe, planets that are hollow, and the larger the hollow, the stronger the gravitational field. For Uranus to be a very small rocky core, and then the rest of it be liquid, which they don't really say what the liquid is. How is it possible that it can have 27 moons with such a weak gravitational force? It's not. Okay, Neptune, the same thing. Neptune has 14, at least 14 moons of its own that we're aware of. Okay, so they're still not giving us straight answers. And you can do whatever you want with this information, but at some point in the future, whether it's our Space Force or it's open dialogue with Benevolence, we'll be learning the true history of our entire solar system. Okay, we will be given that. Not to mention that many of the moons of Uranus and Neptune, well, a fair number, are artificial satellites as well, just like our moon, okay, which most scientists are now admitting to. For those of you who are involved in the currency resets, do not at all be surprised that this national emergency, that this martial law could not or could be used to hide the fact that the president is nationalizing the Federal Reserve and is switching the currency from the Federal Reserve note, a fiat, which means paper and ink currency, to an asset-backed note printed by the United States Treasury, constitutional currency called the USN. Now, the USN is in fact being traded on international currency platforms. This is happening, okay? Trading platforms all over the world are already using the USN. The implementation of it will be digital, and probably over a period of 6 months, 8 months to a year, what will happen once this goes live is they will begin to remove the Federal Reserve notes and just replace it with the USN. We may not hear anything about this for months, but nonetheless, this is in fact happening. Okay, this is the death knell for the central bank system, the Rothschild, Rockefeller cabal, the old ruling families of the old Roman Empire. Okay, this will give countries their freedom back. Because if this does not happen, there are at least 5 countries in the next 3 to 4 years that will cease to exist. They will just go away because of the conditions that they're in, because of the central bank system. It has literally stolen everything from these countries. And this is an opportunity for them to reset and regain their sovereignty. You see, that's what this is about. Becoming a member of a galactic family. Nations, civilizations, planetary civilizations, the economics isn't really that much of a factor because everyone has their own way of doing things, whether you have a currency or not. Everybody has a way of doing things, of supporting their own citizenry. What is important, though, is sovereignty, responsibility of the citizens within that civilization, whether it's a single government or a collection of governments, okay, or tribes, whether it's a civilization on a planet and other smaller civilizations, separate civilizations, on moons, either surrounding that planet or within that a particular solar system. Okay? What's important is sovereignty, because those nations, those civilizations that are sovereign, okay, sovereign, have freedom, have respect for freedom, protect their freedom, they are far better citizens than those who are enslaved to a government that implements fear and control. Those civilizations are horrible to deal with. And they literally bring nothing to the table, because what they do is they take and they take and they take. All they do is feed off the whole like a parasite. Sovereign nations, independent freedom civilizations, they come to the table and they bring something to the table. They bring their ideas, they bring their sovereignty, they bring their ideas of freedom, and the idea of helping protect others who don't have their freedom. In other words, they're leaders. They're already in a leadership role. And that is very, very important to the galaxy, because that's what it's looking for. It's looking for leadership. It's not looking to go the other way. Already been there, done that. Okay? So that's not happening. That's not happening in our solar system either. Okay? The movement, the turn, the momentum is towards sovereignty. It is not a bad thing. It's actually a really, really good thing, because people step up. They become better versions of themselves because they're challenged to be better. Okay? In socialism, in communism, no one gives a shit. All they want to do is survive. Because they have to. They're put in a position to have to survive because those governments, the rulers, feed off the people. Those things go nowhere. Those civilizations are here and gone. They no longer exist after a while. Okay? So when we talk about the narrative, that's what you have to remember. The pendulum has completely swung. You just wouldn't know it listening to the fake news. The fake news. Okay? There is so much to be positive about. It's profound. I mean, I couldn't tell you. I'm so excited about the changes that I see, that I really see. You know, not the nonsense that you hear on television. Now, about the currency exchange. Those of you that have Zimbabwe, that's not being treated as a currency because it's not. What the Zimbabwe government did was they printed their currency on bond paper. Each Zimbabwe note is a bond. Therefore, it has to be handled differently. And it will be handled differently. Now, the staggering thing about this is that at the moment, and again, the reset hasn't occurred. Everyone's pretty much waiting for Iraq to go live with their international rate. The minute that happens, this thing goes. Currently, whatever denomination note you have of Zimbabwe, it's 1-to-1 with the USN. Okay? It's a staggering number. And essentially what you're going to have to deal with is that when you exchange that, it'll be a completely different format than going to Wells or Citibank or B of A or wherever else you bank that does currency exchanges. It'll be a completely different animal than exchanging your dinar or exchanging your real or your dong, etc. It'll be a completely different scenario. Okay, there it'll be a very simple exchange and you will get what you want. With the Zimbabwe, we're talking ridiculous and ridiculous money. And that's going to be a generational thing, and you'll need a plan. You'll need to have a plan in place to explain what you want to do with the money. If you walk in there and you have a great humanitarian program or several that you want to fund or be a part of, that will help you with the process because that's really what they're looking for. They are really looking to do things to turn the planet around, and the race is on the surface because of everything the cabal has done for years and years and years. And I'm not even going to go how bad it is, okay, or was. They're going to turn this thing around. That's the goal, is to turn this thing around. Turn around civilization. Change the way humanity looks at itself and feels about itself. Excuse me. So, that's important. I wanted you all to know that. For those of you who have the other currencies, there is a very, very high probability that your 800 numbers will come out next week. Now remember, international trading occurs Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. It is likely possible that whenever Iraq posts its international rate, it will be on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. because those are international trading days. You cannot trade Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Okay, there's no international exchange unless you are a bank or a government. But on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can. So it's probable that they will do something like that. So you're going to want to pay attention, because I know if you are struggling, I know a lot of you are hurting and you want these things to turn around. And I so understand. I got a car that's lame now, and we have a snowstorm coming, 2 storms actually. So it's going to be interesting, but nonetheless, I wanted you to know about that. Okay. Now, the soul. This information is 10 years old. It's still appropriate, and you'll understand why when I share this with you. Some of this may be very difficult to wrap your heads around. I'm still having trouble wrapping my head around it, because it takes you out of the box completely. In fact, let me just read this quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes. The mind once expanded by a new experience never returns to its original dimensions. Okay? The mind once expanded by a new experience never returns to its original dimensions. That's an outstanding quote for where we are about to go. When I refer to soul, some people call spirit. Some people use it as higher self. Others call it the dreaming body. For the purposes of this next part of this conversation, when I say soul, I'm referring to all of that. Okay? I'm not differentiating. I mean all those terms, just to keep this simple. What exactly is a soul? It's a matrix. It is an energy matrix that has full consciousness. Where does the soul come from? No one knows. Now, I will explain. According to the Andromedan perspective, okay, this is their perspective, and they have constructed this perspective based on their exchanges with other beings, other civilizations, other dimensional beings, higher than, and mentors that are assisting them as they and others are assisting us. According to them, the resonance and frequency of the soul was not created in this universe. Now, let me give you some structure of our universe. According to the A's, the architecture of our universe, the dimensions is very similar. Okay? Each level of dimensional realm or band of frequency, resonance, the architecture is very similar. What's interesting is that third density is especially large. Fourth density, the band and resonance is smaller, but within it, it contains more space than 5 or 6 or 10 third densities. Fifth density, the resonance band is even smaller, but yet it contains 5 to 10 more times the space than, say, fourth density, and onward and so forth, all the way up to what is now known as the 12th density. Now, what's interesting is that the resonance and frequencies of all living things that contain soul, and it is not true that everything has soul in this universe. It's just simply not true. Well, at least in third density and in fourth. There are living things that do not contain soul. They were created, okay? And they were not created to contain soul. They were created to have another purpose. But they don't contain soul. They don't contain spiritual knowledge or resonance. The resonance and frequency of all of humanity, of all things that contain soul, their frequency, their resonance is not of this universe. In other words, the universe was created after we were. Our resonance, our frequency that we all have changes slightly as we move up into dimensions. However, there is a core signature frequency in all soulful things that remains the same, so it can be identified. Now, if you remember me sharing with you way back about the new band, the new frequency, and that there were beings that showed up inside that dimension, that 12th dimension, that were the likes of which we have never seen before. And they had the ability to look straight down through all the 12 dimensions, or through all the other 11 dimensions. And that's pretty old information. It's, I think, from the 90s or the early 2000s. Those beings, who and whatever they are, actually there's a name for them. They're called the Aeria. Aeria. It's a really hard word, and it's taken me quite a long time, and because I don't practice it, it's hard to say it. But it's Aeria. That's what they're calling them, at least their description in the Yay language. That's how it would translate into English here on Earth. They have the same signature. And we know that the 12th density dimension that was just created, they showed up. But they're kin to us, even though they're apparently extremely different. They still have the same signature resonance that all of us that have soul have. Now, some race somewhere on 9th, 10th, or 11th density found a resonance signature that they have been able to confirm is Taal. I don't know how. I'm still trying to get more information, and whenever I hear from M again, Mornay, I will. That question's at the very top of my list, because I want to be updated on any new information there is regarding this. Because I'm really fascinated with all this particular part. I'm not really so interested in races anymore, although that's important. Don't get me wrong. They have a completely different resonance than us. They were not part of our group, of our soul group, that has splintered off into soul families and et cetera, all right, into different dimensions. Now, this signature resonance that they have is completely different than ours. No one understands it as far as I know. Again, this information in our time is 10 years old. So I don't know what new there is yet, but I'm sharing this with you anyway, because I've never shared this before with anybody. You're hearing it for the first time, okay? This was in a special folder. This was in my shut the fuck up folder. Just don't talk about it, okay? So we're hearing it. Now, what's interesting is that this signature resonance that we have gives us the ability to separate, to splinter, and to share different dimensions simultaneously. So first there was us, and then a decision was made to create the playground of physicality for us to experience, experiment, and to create. So the question is, who are we really still has not been answered. Now, when you take this into account, and there are other universes apparently, it's very difficult to really wrap your head around who God really is, or what that essence is, the isness, the Great Spirit. I think great is a very appropriate title. I think it should probably be in front of, great God, great isness, great spirit. It should be. But it is nothing that we've been taught through Catholicisms here. And even the shamanics, even the yogis, no one has a genuine, true perspective of what the creation really is. Because the A's, they're the smartest beings I know, and they're still trying to figure some of this out. And from what they have shared with me, those on 8, 9, and 10, and even 11, they're now looking at beings in the 12th, and they're like, wow, we share a resonance, a frequency, but they are so different from us. Anything that we've known, apparently. But they have that same resonance, which is why they can look straight down all the dimensions. So it just may be that if you have one universe here and you have another universe here, or somehow maybe they're stacked on each other, and then others stacked on top of them and to the side, okay? That each one is very, very specifically created for a very specific group of souls. It doesn't make sense that they would all be the same. Why do that? You would just merge them all into one and just see what happens. But the reason that the A's don't think that that's the case is because the Taal had their own very unique signature resonance as a soul group, which is nothing like any of us that is here. And yet they were able to move through and create space that became our universe, which is still expanding. But it appears that they were the ones who, at least legends have it, that they were the ones who created the space. Now, are they creator? No one believes that. No one believes that. It is believed, based on the complexity of not only our universe and all the dimensions, but the fact that they're aware that there are other universes that exist that are different, believed to be different, with completely different resonances that our universe has. And that some force, isness, great spirit, is able to manage, control, and assimilate all of the experiences that every single being is having. This is not AI, okay? This is not AI, because we are actual energy that exists on its own without any physicality. It's an energy that exists in separate dimensions by itself, on its own, whether it has physicality or not. It exists on multiple dimensions, in physicality or not in physicality. And we have the ability to change or shape, to experience love, compassion, sacredness, unity. We understand on a much deeper core level what all those things are and truly what they represent. So it's impossible, according to the A's and according to those who teach and mentor them, and who are also searching this very same question, who are we? It's impossible to register or even comprehend an actual age for the souls who are in this universe. Because the resonance that we all share is equally as strong amongst all of us, regardless of the physical age of the body that they inhabit. In other words, when we refer to an old soul, we're not actually referring to the age of the soul, because no one knows what that is. It probably is old, okay? If our universe was created 21 trillion years ago, which is what the A's say, I would say that there's some serious age there. But then again, I'm looking at that as from a perspective of their density. Where the average life expectancy is 75 for a man and 81 now for a woman. Okay, which is short, which is very, very relatively short. So that doesn't really qualify. But when we're talking about an old soul, what we're talking about are those that have a lot of physical incarnate experience. Okay? So here we are, working so hard to figure out who we are. And I don't know that that's actually really that important anymore. Maybe the focus should really be not on who we are, but more on what we do. Because the A's don't know. They ask the questions. And I know other benevolent and maybe even regressive civilizations are asking the same question. They would have to be, because it's a self-awareness question. but they may not be any closer to the actual answer than we. They may have more information about their existence and what's important, and the spiritual implications of everything that happens and what they do. But that doesn't mean we won't get there and that we couldn't comprehend all of that. But when you come right down to who are we, they're asking the same question. But it doesn't bog them down. And again, my only experience is with the A's. I can't speak for the other star nations. But though in the back of their mind they're thinking about this, they are at the same time moving forward, doing everything they can to create a civilization, a society of leaders, of leadership. They are doing their best to educate younger, more vulnerable star nations to accept sovereignty, to step into their own personal power, and to become free and independent and leaders, a civilization, a race of leaders. They're doing this all the time. And I think that as they continue to move forward in doing these and mentor, fourth and third density civilizations into this, it only reaffirms their original purpose, which is it's not important who you are, but what you do with the gifts that you have. Because in the end, all the broken pieces find their way home, right? They all find their way home. And how much more fun is it? How much more gratifying, how much more soulful, sacred would it be if most of us got to that place all at the same time? To whatever the end game is here, if it's even an end. If we operate on the presumption that we are ageless, that we are multidimensional, that we exist and coexist on different frequencies all at once, that we are connected to a source outside this physical universe. Because remember, we all have that same frequency, that same signature resonance that is as strong today as it ever was. And then here we have these other beings who are completely different on the 12th, carrying that same signature frequency. We really have nothing to be afraid of. We really, seriously, if we fully embrace that truth, that knowledge, that wisdom, that fact, how do we justify being afraid so much? How do we even justify that? How do we justify being so afraid that we would intentionally disempower ourselves? How does that work? And that's why I haven't shared this information before. Because I don't have the answers. And what I'm doing here is I'm eating crow and I'm busting myself because I dusted the dust. I shook off the dust of the storage unit on this particular folder, and I was like, oh my God. I had put this one way back in the archives in my head. But that's true. I mean, just how do we justify being afraid? It's simply not warranted. Because the reality of being fearful in any physicality is maybe just a mental condition. Okay, it is certainly a control mechanism, a manipulation. It is. It definitely is. So I think that's all I have for today. If we lose compassion for ourselves, for each other, that seems like that would be a very, very dark place to be. And I know it's a complicated issue. I totally realize that this is a very, very complicated issue. But I've been given this window to look at and this piece of information about the 120 years. And I'm trying to make sense of it. Because I like the human race. I like us. I in fact love most of us. Can't stand the bad guys. Absolutely can't stand the bad guys. And I think we have such incredible potential. I think that we bring so much diversity to the galaxy, just our race. I can't speak for the other races because I don't know them. But, I know us. I experience us every day. I think that we can be so much better. I think we can be so much better that it probably would scare most of us as to how much better we could be than we are at the moment. And I know that there's a shift and people are waking up. And I really believe that this awakening that's occurring isn't going to be stopped or stymied or destroyed or sabotaged. I don't believe that at all. I truly believe that humanity's going to make the turn finally. To either recoil in fear of ourselves and our power, or we're all going to speak with one voice and say, yes, let's go for it. Let's be better than we are. I mean, I just think it's amazing. I really do. And being the observer is really, really important right now. I know it's hard. I have a hard time. I'm still throwing Kleenex at the television, when I listen to the news. And I occasionally do listen to the news. Whether it's alternative or not. JP, I saw that you popped out and you popped back in. I'm ready to go with some questions, if anybody has any.
Okay, you hear me?
I hear you great. I hear you great.
So, let's have a look at our webinar. Oh, it's over there. There it is. Okay. Oh, lots of questions. Let's see. Here's one from Sonia. Hi, Alex. Do you know anything about Tartaria? Lots of love, Sonia.
I don't know anything about what that is. What does it represent? I don't even know.
I have no idea.
Okay. So that would be a no, Sonia.
Okay. Okay. From Erica, can we inherit our ancestors' memories through our DNA, especially in dreams, or can we only access our own soul memories? Thank you for your time.
Oh, I believe that science has proven that we inherit memories from at least 7 to 9 generations back. And that feels right to me. You know, when that feels totally right for me. So I'm going to say I agree with that the answer is yes. I know that when I am in my dreaming body and I'm traveling, I have memories of history that I don't have when I'm awake. It seems like I have more access. And it's almost as if when I'm in that place and I'm aware that I'm in that place, I can call up historical events that I appear to have been a part of or around those events. I can pull those things up. For example, one of those would be the burning of the Library of Alexandria. I have a very clear memory of standing there along with others, weeping, watching this thing burn, watching the library burn, and Roman guards blocking the streets to make sure that no one could go up with buckets of water and trying to put it out. I clearly have that memory. I also have the emotion that went with it. And when I experienced that emotion, I remember smelling the smoke. But that's me, that's me. And others will make whatever they want out of that. But I know that I was there. Now, if you remember when I shared my first experience with Mordane Phaseus, and they put the little yarmulke type of hat on my head. It was like a metal disc with a circle on it, and I put it on my head, or they put it on my head, and then I saw the monitors come up and show me all of these different images. One of those was that image, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that until I had the experience as an adult, and I was out dreaming. And that experience came back to me and I saw it and I relived it. And that's very similar to exactly what I saw on the screen. But as an 8-year-old, I didn't have a clue what the hell I was looking at. But the point is that the A's themselves use this technology. When a child is born there, they educate them as to who they were in the past, so that there is a continuation of knowledge. There's no brain drain. There's no wiping the hard drive free, saying, okay, start over, which to me is the dumbest idea there ever was, to just keep doing that to someone. Okay? I mean, how many times you got to learn how to swim? One should be enough, right? One should be enough. So you just get better at swimming. That's what they should be doing, is teaching us to swim better, faster, stronger, instead of teaching us how to swim over and over and over again. So they do this. So they have this experience, but they use technology. Unfortunately, at this point, we don't have access to that technology. So other people do it in other ways. They use hypnosis, past life regression, which I guess is hypnosis. Other people have spontaneous memory flashes. I mean, everybody's different. Some people use medications, tools to make that happen, like peyote and things of that nature. I don't go that route. And there's no right or wrong way, as long as you can figure out how to tap into that. Because I'll just tell you straight away, I don't need to convince any of you of what I know, because I know what I know. Doesn't matter to me whether anybody accepts that or not. I frankly could care less. Okay? But you know what you know. Just like those of you who are here who have had more experiences than me in different ways, you already know what you know. Doesn't matter what I say. You know. You know that you know, right? So, that's what it's about. I mean, that's and once you know, you have this presence, you have this assurity within yourself. And what it does is it brings forward a commanding presence, a leadership, because you're not weaving in the wind, going back and forth. Which idea should I accept? Which is the right? Which is wrong? Which path? Somebody tell me what to do. When you know. No one's there to tell you what to do, because you already know what to do. You already know where you're going. You may not have every single recollection as to why you're making this decision, but you have learned through gut instinct, through intuition, through personal knowledge and personal strength. All those things together combine to help you make a decision about what it is that you want to do. It's called experience. Okay? You don't need to learn how to swim anymore. You got it. And that's the point. That's the point. That's what the galaxy is looking for, is souls like that. Because as civilizations come and they age, and the elders of those civilizations cross over into other forms, the next generation has to step forward to continue the work of those generations, of those civilizations. That's how it works. It isn't different in other galaxies than it is here. Okay? That's how it's supposed to work. The young inherit. They're supposed to continue to move forward in responsible fashion to mentor and assist the younger generations before it. Not sit there and blame the generation before for what it is that they're not happy about. Then you get together and you change it and you make it better. You don't sit there and blame. You take a leadership role and you make changes that are responsible, that are holistic for all living things. That's how this is supposed to work. It isn't rocket science. Okay? It's taking the selfishness out of it, and it's looking at the big picture. And that's something that, God, our civilization, we don't have. So few people really grasp the big picture and what the future could potentially hold and where it's actually going. We hire think tanks, and their sole motive for working on this and putting these things together is money, is to get that big, fat government contract. Oh yeah, they're going to put humanity's interests at heart and first, and up front. It's not going to happen. No. They're going to perpetuate the system that feeds them and gives them power. That's the issue here. Okay, and that's the straw man's back that we have to break. Is that whole model. Anyway, I'm ranting. I apologize. All right, JP, I'm sorry.
From Lauren.
Reservation on that one. I apologize.
Statute of limitation. When talking about the New World Order, everyone talks about the European royalty. But where does the Saudi royal family fit into all of this? Are they all the same bloodline, or are they just using their resources to their advantage?
I don't know necessarily that the Saudis, well, what is a royal line? Are we talking a royal bloodline that's connected to Nibiru, to the Anunnaki, to the Pleiadians, to Andromeda, to the reptilians? What are we talking about? What makes that royal? The fact that they have ET blood? Because I got a news flash for you. Every one of us does, which is why the A's consider us, all of us, royalty. So what does that mean exactly? In my humble opinion, when we talk about the royal families, what we're talking about are those who have created an economic privilege over the rest of humanity and have declared themselves kings and queens. Is it something that they actually deserve? Do they actually have a right to rule over other people? I'm an American. And that is not an idea that would ever fly here. Do I think they always make the best decisions? Hell no. Do I think every one of those royal kings and queens and princes in the past, going all the way back to Egypt, have all been benevolent? Hell no. Have some of them been okay? I'm sure there have been. Do we actually hear about them? Probably not, because you got to remember, history on this planet, the victor of the war, the conqueror, always rewrites history. Okay, you got to remember that. We haven't been given the truth about our history on this planet. We have slices that only those slices they want us to know about, that fits their narrative. They've been hiding most of everything of who and what we are and our actual roots and our actual genuine history. And they've done very, very well at covering it up. And if anybody tries to go there, they have the religions, the Catholicisms, to attack the messengers, to make sure that they crawl back into their studies and never stick their head out again, because they're sinners, they're liars, they're Luciferians, they're all kinds of things for some of those truth tellers. Now, I'm not saying there aren't Luciferians and Satanists and people who do that dark shit. That's not my point. My point is, we are using a language, we are using historical narratives and descriptors that genuinely no longer apply. Okay? What makes a royal a royal? Okay, a bloodline to who? A bloodline to what? Okay, if the A's are right, and we all have royalty, and we all are royalty, then I don't need a king or queen to tell me what to do, to take over my property, to tax me to death. I don't need any of that. Okay, and I certainly don't need a government to do that either. What I do need is a responsible government servant representative to implement and to hear my concerns and implement the will of the people for the betterment of the people. That's what we lead, and that's what we've lost touch with. I think today when people say royal, Um, I just think, I honestly, I don't think it's appropriate today. I think the citizenry, the will of the people, the knowledge of the people, the experience of the people, needs to always be front and center, and it's not. Are we evolved enough to completely be on our own? I'm not sure yet. Are we evolved enough to live without a currency where everybody instinctively and intuitively will want, moved by compassion and compelled to assist humanity in any way they can using their skills? Would they do that for free if they were guaranteed residence, lodging, and safety, food? Would they do that? I don't know that either. You have to understand that we have been programmed and conditioned to be in fear, to surrender our free will, and our rights and our personal dignity for thousands of years. That's the only way we know how to live. How many years will it take for us to turn that around and to embrace a new way of living and thinking about ourselves and our approach to managing our civilization in the world? It may take a couple hundred years. I don't know. But I think about those things. I think about those things all the time. So, did I just leave the reservation again?
Just taking a little wonder. So, yeah, Saudi royal families, where do they all fit in?
Sorry, I'm very chatty today. Okay.
Have you had a lot of coffee or something?
I took a ginseng.
Oh, wow.
I needed some extra oomph today. So I took some.
That sounds like a good idea.
Ayurvedic ginseng. Ashkanawanda, I think it's called. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's made me very chatty.
Okay. In 1984 Summer Olympics in LA, there was a UFO at the end of the game. Do you know if that was real, or do you have any suggestions of a book we should read? Oh, and also, do you have any suggestions? This is from Mauro.
Okay, 1984.
So yeah, UFOs at the end of games.
No, I don't know if it was real or not. I don't even remember the incident. So, any books that you should read? No, I haven't had time myself to read, working 2 jobs. You know, and I come to the library every 2 weeks, and I'm surrounded by books, but I don't have the time to actually do the reading. I don't. I don't have any suggestions at the moment. I apologize.
Okay. Lots of questions about currency. So, what can we expect after the reset happens if you don't have any of the reset currency? And is it too late to buy Zim at this point?
I don't know. You'd have to find out. You'd have to contact a currency seller. I wouldn't buy it off eBay. But there are people that sell currency, that exchange currency. I think you can still buy Dinar. I know you can still buy some Dong. The whole point of this is, well, it's actually twofold. When this shift occurs, 2 things are supposed to happen. One, this will break the banks of the central bank's control over all of the world's currencies. Isn't it interesting that the net global debt of the world is somewhere set around $430 trillion. And the actual wealth of the Rothschild banking family is 500 trillion. Isn't that interesting? And there are other families that have been involved in this. But I mean, where on this planet do you spend $500 trillion? What could you buy for $500 trillion? Okay? And yet the world is struggling. Countries are near in a position where they will not exist 4 to 5 years from now because of all this debt. And they sit back and they allow this suffering to happen. I cannot wrap my head around it. So it's obvious that they have to be taken out of the equation. No compassion, no mercy. You have to remove them from the equation, and whatever that looks like, and start something different. And you have to create a new group of patrons who have wealth that will put the money back into civilization, into humanity, to make humanity better. And I think that's ultimately the goal here, is you create a new upper class that genuinely cares about humanity. Because this bunch we have now, obviously they don't give a shit. They don't. They have everything and they want more. And they don't care what they do to get it. They don't care how much suffering there is. They really don't. So that's the shift. Okay? Monies go into huge monies, ridiculous amounts of money go into humanitarian programs that will help and benefit all of humanity. And that's the way it's supposed to be. It may be 6 months before they actually tell everybody that this has occurred, if they even do it. It'll be a slow transition, but what everybody will see, bless me, is that as these programs are implemented, student loans will be paid for, mortgages will be paid for, there'll be no debts, people's indebtedness will be forgiven, and everyone will be given a chance to start over, because it's not about profit. Okay, and that's all that this structure we've been living under is about. That's all it's been about, is about profit, profiting off the suffering of humanity. We have got to change that way of thinking, or we're not going anywhere. And I think that the White Hats, the space program, those people who are interacting with benevolence, I think they're getting the message and they're trying to implement this. But you just can't turn humanity around on a dime. It's like a huge 18-wheeler, okay, with an extra trailer. It takes a while to make the turn. And that's what we're doing. We're just beginning to make the turn. And but first we have to dust the parasites off. We have to get them off the back of humanity, because they have sucked the lifeblood out of us to no end, and with no end in sight. So that has to be dealt with. That's how I see this. And the reason this is happening is because the dark side is no longer in control. All right? And you should all be very, very encouraged by that. Even though you think nothing's happening because you don't hear anything about it in the press, understand they're controlling the narrative. Okay, and if you are watching the narrative, you can see that their hysteria is getting worse and worse and worse. That's a positive sign. That means they are losing control of the minds of the people. That's why they're becoming more and more hysterical and extreme. And when this is all said and over with, we're going to have to put them all in a nut house because that's where they belong with the shit they pulled. You know? Okay.
Gravity. Is our planet relatively...
Yeah,
Gravitas.
gravity.
Is our planet relatively strong in its gravitational field? You were talking about gravity. Can you talk a little more about gravity and, you know, what it really is? With levity.
Gravity. Gravity, as I understand it, is the creation of sunlight as it penetrates through material matter, such as the Earth, and it breaks down into protons, electrons, etc., creates a gravitational field. And the larger the hollow field, hollowness of a planet, the greater the gravitational field. If you have an absolute solid structure like a single rock moon, the gravitational field will be very weak, because what's happening is there's no building up of inside of the planet the field of protons and electrons and other things as they break down. I don't have those notes directly in front of me, and it's been many, many years since someone's even asked me this question. But as they break down, they create a field, which is gravity. It isn't the turning of the planet, although that helps. Okay, the Earth's gravitational field is fluctuating; it is moving, and that's because there are other starships and planetary objects in our solar system that are doing this. Now, this isn't just the Earth. This is happening to Venus. This is happening to Mercury. This is happening to Mars. They just don't want you to know. Okay? Even our moon. Have you noticed where our moon sets and rises is different than where it used to be? Have you also noticed that the stations of the light and the dark moon have also changed their position on how the light shines on the moon and the darkness descends on the moon? That's also changed. That's because there are things around us that they don't want us to see. The magnetic north is moving. We've talked about this in previous webinars. I told you what they were going to do so that we wouldn't experience a horrific pole shift, but something that was very slow to roll, okay, so that the oceans would not have to leave their basins completely, because that would be an absolute disaster, and humanity doesn't deserve that. As long as humanity continues to move forward to awaken, we're going to get incredible support. There's no reason to start over and wipe everything out like that has been done in the past. Okay? We have value. So as far as gravity, you know, the Earth is going through changes. So are we. Mentally, spiritually, physically, we're all going through changes. What that looks like 5-10 years down the road, I'm not exactly sure. I'm just trying to stay focused in the moment and do the very best I can every single day with myself and my relationships and those people that I interact with during the day, is to just be the best version of myself at all times. And I like that work. You know, I do. I like that work. It's very rewarding for me at night when I put my head on my pillow, that I know that, you know, today I was the best version of me that I could be today. You know, gravity is also created by intent. when you think of something, when you think of an idea, when you intend to want something, you immediately create a field, a quantum field, and you tell the universe, I want this. This has been proven in a lab, by the way, several labs around the world, that I want this. And what happens is that intention creates a field of physicality that begins to manifest. And as long as you continue to will it and to focus on it and to see it, it will at some point manifest for you in your life. It's real. It's absolutely real. I mean, look at this planet. Okay, we're the ones manifesting this every day. We are. You want global warming? Continue to believe all the bullshit they're telling you. Okay, continue to believe that there is global warming. You know what? We're going to create global warming because that's what our thoughts does. That's why they want to control the narrative. Okay, because we're creators. You are a creator. You, with your intent, create a gravitational field to create what it is that you want. You just have to hold the focus till it gets here. This is not rocket science. This is what quantum physics and quantum mechanics are teaching us. Okay? We want this to be a paradise. We need to start seeing it as a paradise. We need to start believing that it's a paradise, not all this other horseshit that they're telling us about. It's really that simple. It's just incredibly hard to get everybody to believe it because they're so used to living in the box. This box, okay? Reality can only be in this box. Nothing else is possible. Just this. I mean, you know, that's why when I used the analogy earlier of an 18-wheeler with an extra trailer, it's taking some time to make the turn. You can't turn on a dime. That's all I got. That's all I got. I may or may not have answered your question, but that's all I got.
There you go. And we're right at the bottom of the webinar.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfectly timed. Perfectly timed. So thank you. I'll see you in a couple of weeks then, Alex.
JP, thank you. My best to your partner, James. As always, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you're awesome. You're spectacular. I don't care what your friends say about you. I think you're awesome, every single one of you. And I love you. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. And for those of you with currency, keep checking the Forex to see if Iraq goes international. Okay? That's the go button. That's the go button. When you see the international rate for the new Iraqi dinar, that's the go button. Okay? It's coming. We're close. Take care, everyone. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, Stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan Contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.